Hello and welcome back to my channel. Right, okay, let's get on to the first bit of gaming news. Gears Tactics is a shockingly good strategy game, says PC Gamer. Gears Tactics sets itself apart from XCOM with smart reinventions of Overwatch, action points, skill trees and more. Now this sounds like really, I think this is going to be a turn-based game, obviously like XCOM, but they've thrown a lot more stuff into it. What I found was a really fun strategy combat, a bit breezier than XCOM, but far better adaptation of Gears than I thought possible. Even the concepts of XCOM inspired strategy game, chainsawing baddies in a shower of ludicrous gore is still the good stuff. Gears Tactics brings several surprising and thoughtful new ideas to what could have been a very derivative game, and developers at Coalition and Splash Damage really wanted to get across how serious they're taking this as a game built first and foremost for the PC. Yeah, they basically give Gears Tactics a really good, well, I won't say score because they've not scored it, but a lot of praise and saying there's a lot of new stuff in the game. It is coming out of PC first. I very much totally imagine that it will be coming out for Xbox, even if it's the next Series Xbox. So, but this is really good news for Coalition, who sort of branched off. They have branched off from the Gears normal game modes. They made Halo Wars 2. They didn't make Halo Wars 2, did they? 343, sorry, getting really confused there. So 343 branched off, and sort of Coalition made Gears Pop, sort of dual adaptation on sort of a more mobile-esque game, and now they've come off and done this, and this seems very like it's going to be a massive success. I mean, I'll be all down for it. Let's see if I can get some. Is that the gameplay there? It's a bit laggy, isn't it? It's not working too well. Come on. You're just going to play. There we go. There's some of the gameplay. A little snippet of it. But all in all, the game looks really good. I'll be looking forward to this because I like turn-based games and I like all styles of games really, except really single-player games and platforms. But I like trying new sort of types of games. So that's really a good start to Gears 5 Tactics before its release. It's getting some good news. Let's move on to the next bit of news. So this bit of news dropped in the week. PS5 price leak is insanely low. Should Xbox Series X be worried? So let's get on to this. PS5 looks like a seriously impressive feat. So what this is about is they've seen somewhere of, as they always do, or rumoured, that they're expecting a 400, 450, but they're looking at 350, which, yes, it would possibly undercut the Xbox Series X. 350 would be a mad price. Now that's kind of worrying at the same time. I mean, up here it says actually 320, 320 to 395 in dollars. That's kind of worrying that it's so low, because I don't believe Sony could undercut themselves that much. And it's a really, for one, if the PS5 is actually far more underpowered than they're claiming, so they can undercut the price so much because the parts ain't cost that much, or if they're really just going to go all in and take a massive sort of cut, hoping that they sell another 100 million consoles and everyone starts buying the games because they make the money from software, not console sales. So that's going to be really interesting. As I said, this is not cast iron confirmation. It could just be a placeholder price, or the store employee could have made an error in listings. Right? Because I mean, I have seen another site that, yeah, there we go. I go on the Danish site that had it 834. So you know, you've got 834 and 320. What are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? So this is a massive rumor at the moment. But incidentally, which is more interesting than the supposedly low PS5 price link, to build the console, they had a price target in mind, and that he feels good about the price we'll be able to get to, and that Team Xbox will stay agile on our pricing. Then that's very interesting. I think that's stay agile on our pricing. So they have no fixed pricing and scheduled. They are quite flexible to bounce around, totally to see if what Sony drops. And I have the feeling by what his statements are is that if Sony drops their price, I got a feeling Xbox will actually either match it or better it. It says here why he doesn't actually provide a price point. His statements are notable when the pricing does not appear to have been set, and that they are waiting to see where Sony lands with the PS5 before announcing the price of the Xbox. And for those looking to pre-order, Spencer says likely later this summer those will open up. So that's great. Speaking of the PS5, Spencer said that he feels good about how Series X lines up to PS5, and you can tell from the interview that he's extremely pleased that they were able to top Sony's specs nearly across the spectrum. So there we go. And he goes on to say xCloud as well, that still be playable and usable on Xbox and blah blah blah. Finally, on E3, Spencer says that Microsoft has content announcements planned or in the works between now and when that event was scheduled to take place. That's in June, and that more information will be announced during the summer as well. So they've still got loads of content announcements to drop, which is really interesting. I think we're going to see a couple more devs, to be honest, the studios that they purchased, and more games. He recently come out in a statement that said they are not working on Scalebound. There's nothing in the works. Platinum Games wanted to, and Xbox said no because Platinum basically burnt the rope there. It's their own fault really. They were just stupid. They lost out. I think they lost out big there. Scalebound would have been a massive AAA title, and now they're just left with sort of stuff like Nier and stuff now, Automata and that. But so yes, so talking on the PS5 price, it looks like Phil's come out and said they will just match it anyway. So, which is really interesting considering the power of the PS5. And the important thing here is Xbox and Microsoft had the resources to do it. They can match the price because they will just take a loss because they can afford it, basically. And I think he says here that the costs, which I said a while back, the costs will be covered in things like Game Pass and stuff. Did I see it here or somewhere else? Must have been somewhere else. So that's all very interesting news. Let's move on to the next tidbit. Okay, so let's follow on. Phil also said the Xbox launch won't be held back. It's still going to launch at its pre-designated time, date. So that's very... get rid of these bloody pop-ups. That's very good news. So games will not delay the console. They will launch it even if it has no games. Which we know it won't have, because we know, I think he's saying this because he's very confident that games will be done on time as well. We know, which I was reported last week, that they're working from home to complete games now, such as Halo Infinite, which will be a launch title. So just to reassure you all, Xbox Series X will be launching this year, even though Sony is still sort of undecided. And to be honest, pretty honest, I think Sony are being very quiet on their specs, because if it's delayed, or they delay it for whatever reason till next year, now they know the specs of the Xbox Series, I wouldn't be surprised if they change some of the hardware in it to match Xbox. I would not be surprised. That's why they're not being open with all the tech in it. But so this is good. I do think that in everything was there for the software, the services and the hardware. I don't think I would hold it for any individual game. Obviously the one you think about is Halo, is iconic with the launch. And the team are doing a really good job on Halo Infinite right now. They're learning on the job just like we are. I think we'll go in eyes wide open on what we're trying to get done. So with E3 2020 cancelled, Spencer said his team is also thinking on the fly about how it will roll out more information about Xbox Series X. The first step was its Xbox Game Stack presentation, where it debuted the console in person, and more will follow. We'll do things between now and the time when E3 was supposed to be. We'll do things throughout the summer, Spencer said. I think we're just going to look at how teams can get stuff ready and how we can best use digital experiences to best deliver experiences to the fans that we have, because that's just the same way to do this. So there we go. We will be getting our Xbox Series X this year. Brilliant. Let's move on to the next bit of news. So this dropped later in the week, earlier in the week. So this is very interesting. This is developers begin to wane on the power gap between the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. So it's now been a little over a week since Sony revealed some of the specs for the PlayStation 5. As we discussed on last week's podcast, there is a power gap in favour of the Xbox Series X. However, we're also very careful when speaking about the gap due to the complexities in game development. Thus, we always look to game developers who are actually working with these units. So they go to game developers, which is some very interesting information here. So first off, Chris Granell was a developer who spent 15 years working on PlayStation games for both the PS3 and PS4, including Killzone 2 and Wipeout. He stated the following: "I've chatted to a few devs and they have confirmed the power difference is quite staggering. However, they have said it doesn't mean you can't make good games on PS5. Yeah, the PS5 will no doubt have some good games if you like that style of game, because unfortunately for Sony, that's why I don't follow their consoles. They are very particular on sort of one style of game, and that's the kind of style of game that I don't really like to enjoy playing." So when asked about the speed of the PS5's SSD having an impact, the latter followed with, "As blistering as the PS5 SSD is, it's not going to make up for the loss of CUs and variance in clock speeds on the CPU and GPU. It's always nowhere near GDDR6 levels, so it can't reliably be used as virtual memory." In the latest episode of Xbox Unlocked, IGN's weekly Xbox show, the following quote was given from an unnamed developer, which echoed the CU count being a large factor. "The in-house tools, which are Unix-based for Sony versus Microsoft with DirectX 12, will dictate how efficient their use of the hardware is. With that said, Mark Cerny pulled a quick one on the general public with the way he delivered the Sony's PS5 specs. First off, we have no clue what the sustained numbers of the GPU and CPU are. However, judging by the leak that did now the Series X numbers, they are significantly lower. That said, one of the things you can and most general users skip over is how the CU count is a huge drawback on all modern executions such as ray tracing, variable rate shading, VFR, etc. Meaning the CU cores are tied to the ray tracing cores. So with that said, the PS5 has 40% or so fewer CUs." Whew, so that's bit scathing there by that dev. Now to Microsoft's biggest advantage, their speed numbers are locked and are not boost numbers, which with software updates they might be able to push, as there's always headroom. Grant Cott is a developer who is currently working on his first console game. He says that the combination of DirectX 12 Ultimate and console power drove his direction to the Xbox ecosystem. "As a single developer who has not put out any previous console games, I'm choosing to focus on the DirectX ecosystem, which supports Xbox, PC and cloud. Xbox being more powerful in compute is also a factor." As we've also heard, some developers have commented on the PS5 having unique features that will be better understood in time. While we certainly believe that to be true, these quotes have come from Sony development studios and thus will focus on independent developers' experiences. That is true. All the people that are bigging up the PS5 are basically Sony people, which, you know, is much like Metacritic, how that sort of works. A lot of the 10 out of 10s they get are from Sony review sites, and that's what boosts their scores. From all accounts, the Xbox Series X is absolutely taking the power crown into next generation, as we had assumed for a long time now. Regardless, it goes without saying that we are extremely excited for both the Xbox and PS5, and we can't wait to see more developers on both consoles as they get closer to launch. And as that happens, I'll report it. But this is very interesting news, and looks like the scales, as we already knew, are tipped towards Xbox Series X. And as I sort of said in the previous video, Cerny, I think, was a bit smoke and mirrors with his presentation. But moving on to this, let's just make some things clear that the Xbox Series X is rolling with, because they use a lot of abbreviations and stuff. So I'm just going to cover one now. So let's move on to this. What is Xbox Series X Velocity Architecture, VA? So this is Xbox Velocity Architecture promises no compromise gameplay and cuts load times, drawing the best from Xbox Series X. So this is something Xbox Series X does have, as long as along with some other sort of details and features that the PS5 won't have. Xbox Series X enters the generation with a suite of advancements, the focus of those centered on speed. Microsoft's upcoming home console is undoubtedly faster than predecessors, whether it's bleeding edge Zen 2 CPU, 12 teraflop floating point performance, or custom NVMe solid state drive setup. That ties together with Xbox Velocity Architecture, marrying Xbox Series X hardware with Redmond's software know-how. Microsoft frames the Xbox Velocity Architecture as a fundamental component of Xbox Series X, comprised of both hardware and software, poised to unlock new capabilities never before seen in console development. Beyond the marketing, the moniker refers to a new architecture designed for Xbox Series X, streamlining storage and processing on the console. So taking Xbox X beyond the SSD. See, this is sort of quite in your face to Cerny, really, after his big talk about SSD and how nothing compares to it. This is like, yeah, shove SSD. We've got a VA. VA improves how Xbox Series X loads games assets from storage, known as asset streaming, while reducing the space those assets occupy on the drive. The solution tackles two key challenges modern titles face, with installation sizes rapidly on the rise and more computationally demanding than ever. The upshot is backbone to support complex next generation games while also reducing load times. So this basically goes on to say just how impressive and how the whole thing works. The hardware decompression block plays a vital role, allowing games to consume less space via compression on an SSD. That hardware is devoted to tackling runtime decompression, keeping games running smoothly without giving more work to the CPU. It uses ZIP, a general purpose data compression library, and a mysterious new system named BCPAC, geared to GPU textures. So this, as I said, there's lots of sort of features coming out on the Xbox, and a lot of people don't know what they are. And that couples with another one is the SFS, that couples with sampler feedback streaming, streamlining GPU usage and loading only portions of textures demanded by a setting. Both provide software solutions that enhance the efficiency of games on the Xbox Series X, taking full advantage of CPU and GPU gains. So these things will basically take the weight off the CPU and the GPU, allowing them to do what they need to do. The CPU is the brain of our new console, and the GPU is the heart, but the Xbox Velocity Architecture is the soul, stated Andrew Guzan, technical fellow of the Xbox Series X at Microsoft via Xbox Wire. The Xbox Velocity Architecture is about so much more than fast last times. I think it means load times. It's one of the most innovative parts of our new console. It's about revolutionising how games can create vastly bigger and more compelling worlds, which I think is what they're going to push for things like State of Decay 3 and Halo Infinite, and probably Everworlds, and probably Hellblade 2, and Microsoft Flight Sim. Actually, all the games they're looking to just expand and make massive. So Microsoft provides examples of games in those categories, including Final Fantasy 15, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Such titles were notorious for lengthy initial loading screens, sometimes taking minutes to get started. Why does no one ever mention Grand Theft Auto 5? It's very odd that everyone just seems to skip over the load time of that game. And for games that mask loading by slowing players, whether elevators or hallways, Xbox Series X may provide additional creative freedom to avoid those limitations. Yes. So there we go. So that's Xbox Velocity Architecture. So now you're all up to speed on what that is. I'll see if I can find something covering another one of their acronyms and another time and cover that. But that's the news for now. Thank you all for watching and paying attention. If you're still with me, please sub and share and like. And I really want to read your comments down below so I can have a sort of discussion about the future of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. What you're looking forward to most and what games. Thank you all for watching, and good.